In addition to a global reverb send, we can also set up a secondary additional parallel signal pathway to route to a delay effect on the global send effects page. So from each instrument slot, we have this second send over here, and I'll dial it up to a nice healthy amount just so we can really focus on it in this video. And again, it's per slot, and when there's multiple instruments per slot like that, we can do it uniquely for each instrument. Now in this case, I'm affecting them all together. It's all acting as one section, but you optionally may not want that for multiple instruments in your section. So now on the global send effects page, we can turn on this delay effect, and we have a sync button which allows us to sync it to the tempo of the piece within our DAW. And let's just hear it like this. I have it soloed. So with no delay. With the delay. And when this is off, we can dial that down and set it to a custom number of milliseconds that you see displayed there. And when in sync mode, we see the number of 16th notes. Now, the feedback determines how many iterations of the delay are going to be generated. So the lower this is, the fewer repeats there are going to be. In fact, this really shouldn't be called a delay plugin. It should be called a repeat plugin because it repeats the signal. So let's dial that down and we'll hear less repeats. We hear it more profoundly on those short notes at the beginning. And of course, if we dial it way up, we're going to get kind of a cacophony of repeats overlapping. So that's no good. Now we have a dampening control which will basically roll off some of the higher frequencies on each of the successive repeats that are generated. So the higher we dial this up, the darker each repeat is going to be. So that's a nice way of keeping them kind of subtle. Let's dial in a little bit less. And then we have an overall return level for how much of these repeated signals we want blended in. So a nice subtle amount like that might work nicely in a mix like this, although it might be busy on those eighth notes. So it adds a nice kind of extra quality and character to the brass part. Something like this, you might want more of this on some of those staccato notes and much less of it when you have the busier eighth note run. And we can automate these parameters, and we'll look at that in a later video. So that's the global send effects, where we set up a dual parallel signal pathway that is sent to this global effects section and arrives at this delay module, which we turn on or off there. We set the timing of the repeats that are generated here. Sync mode will lock it to the clock in our sequencer, and when that's off, we can set it freely. Feedback determines how many repeats are going to be generated. Damp control dampens the higher frequencies on the repeats that are generated with the feedback knob, and this is an overall level to blend in these repeats with your dry signal. See you for more in the next video.